Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to the conference. It's an area that I'm really passionate about. I'll try to get through this as quickly as I can because I realise I'm between you and lunch. So what I want to talk to you about today is basically building an insights-led content-first marketing strategy. It's a topic that I'm quite passionate about for a range of different reasons. So just a little bit about me and sort of why that's the case. So I'm a prolific kind of customer of the tertiary education sector. So I've got 4 degrees, 2 master's degrees, and soon a PhD, hopefully, if I get enough time. In the past, I've run insights teams for big brands, including some university clients, and then I worked on comms and media strategies agency side for Publicis Group, and there I got to build some media planning strategies for a university client. I'm a lecturer at Monash University, and then I'm also on an industry advisory board at Victoria University, which is a great experience. I worked for a time as Associate Director of Insights and Strategy at the University of Melbourne, so some of the things that I'll talk about today come from that experience. And now finally I'm the founder or co-founder with my colleagues over there in the corner of Cognitives, and we're an enterprise content marketing platform for large companies. And we work with a few university clients, some of the people in the room. So UTS we work with, and we also work with Monash University quite extensively. And here are the different universities that I've either attended or worked with. The reason why I'm so passionate about the university space is you guys, of all the brands that I got to work with as an insights practitioner and a strategist, universities have, I think, they're the most aspirational and most inspiring in that you really have the chance to transform people's lives, both through learning and teaching, through research impact, and also broader engagement. And that's the reason why I really love the space. So throughout the talk today, basically, I'm just going to serve up a couple of different ideas, and they're just ideas, they're thought starters, basically opinions that I have about putting together your marketing strategy, how to execute your marketing strategy, and then direct that via content. Hopefully that spurns a bit of debate around the room. If you've got questions, you can leave them till the end. But as I say, they're not didactic, they're just thought starters really. So I might start with insights practice. So as I said, I was an insights practitioner for a while, and I really loved insights work. I loved creating beautiful mind-style, crazy visualizations that look like this and getting bogged down in the data and doing lots of research and running tracking studies and a bunch of other things. Insights is the core, or great insights are the core of a great marketing strategy. But I'll caveat that by saying, like, if you spend a lot of your time really talking about sample size or debating on, the relevance of the data, then you're sort of missing the point of insights, in my opinion. Insights or an insights practice is only really as good as the way that you apply it to a business or a brand challenge. So my first sort of thought starter or idea in that space would be really trying to get your insights team to be like a special ops team, and try and outsource all of that other stuff that might go into your marketing strategy around sort of getting the right data and getting it in the right place to third-party partners, data partners, research agencies, etc., and really get your kind of ninjas, your data ninjas, your insights ninjas, your strategists working on the right problems at the right time. Part of that is also you measure what you care about, and you care about what you measure. So a lot of the brand tracking studies or the insights-led things that I have seen come out of universities are great. They're very expansive. They cover a lot of different things, but often I'd get into meetings with, say, senior management, marketing executives, people like that, and they'd ask me about a specific question about recruitment, and I'd say, we don't actually really have that data, or that data isn't in the right place, not formed in the right way, it's not in the right person's hands. If that's the case, then I'd recommend for you, and that sounds similar, then transform what you're trying to measure, because if you cut down your investment in insights and trying to get that data, but you focus on 1 or 2 things that really matter to you, you'll get a better result in terms of a better, more cohesive marketing strategy that you can actually act on. I've seen that not only in the university sector, but other areas where, for example, I was running an insights team for an FMCG brand across a range of different markets, getting all this amazing data, but it just wasn't going into the brand teams. They weren't actually being able to act on it. And it was basically a waste of the company's money, and we had to shut the whole thing down. This was mentioned earlier, and I think it's a great point. behavioural metrics matter far more than anything else in the context of what you're trying to look at and how you should be making your decisions. You guys are at an advantage in that space to other brands, which I'll talk about in a moment, because you own your route to market. What people do matters far more than what they say. It's sort of like news. It's like we have a lot of media clients on our platform, and I teach in the journalism department at Monash, so I talk about news quite a lot. It's a great analogy. Is basically in the hierarchy of news, something has happened is far more important than someone saying something's going to happen, and it's exactly the same with insights and data. For universities, proprietary data is all around you. So this is, I think, the thing that excited me the most about working in Melbourne University. At the time when I was there, the whole focus and the real area of growth was postgraduate study, probably still is in the recruitment space. But when I got there, I was, all right, this is great. Let's go and talk about, or go and meet with the people who can tell me everything that we know about our existing cohorts of students, so I can figure out how to matriculate them over or build a cohesive strategy about that. I couldn't really find that data in a simple form anywhere. And there's no real excuse for that, because that data was theirs, and it would be the same for you guys as well. If you're already down that path, sensational. If you're not, then there's no real blocker to you going and getting that data because you own it. The next idea I think in this space, which I really like, is I went from working at the University of Melbourne, which was enjoyable, to founding a tech startup. And the difference was obviously far less resources in a tech startup, but the pace. Obviously, you go from somewhere like a university where I couldn't really move very fast to a startup where I could really implement that build, measure, learn feedback loop from the lean startup methodology. If you do that, if you really do that, then it opens up business model innovation, it opens up product innovation that's not available to you otherwise. So it's an area of potentially a competitive advantage in this space if you can move quickly on the data that you capture. If you do that, then you become naturally more consumer-centric or customer-centric. If you're measuring and you understand what's happening with your cohorts of students as they move through your university, or they come in and you lose them to another university, then you naturally care more about what's going on with them. No one in the university space really is owning that as a strategic or defensible piece of the market. I put shoes up here because Zappos, if you've heard of them, is the classic case study of being relentlessly customer-centric using data. They say that they're a customer-obsessed company that happens to sell shoes. They obviously sell a bunch of other stuff now and it's moved on, but in the genesis of the story, that's who they were. If you could do that as an insights-based organisation, I think there's a real kind of area of strategic differentiation in the Australian market that could be captured. So I'll move on to strategy now. Strategy means so many different things, and if you've ever had to run a marketing strategy project across a big organisation, you'll know that everybody's got an opinion about what it is and which part of it, and then it goes to content strategy and all the rest of it. So I like to kind of centre myself, and also it's a great audience because tertiary education is linked to universities. Centre myself on the seminal text by Porter, which is What is Strategy, which is a great read. But basically, the essence of any great strategy is choosing to perform activities differently than your rivals do. Now that can be, every university does the same things, is doing those things differently, or a collection of those things differently, or doing things that are not similar to what your competitors do. That seems like a pretty lofty goal, but whatever you put together for your marketing strategy, if it just does that, then that's a massive win. If you can articulate that across a university, the reason why you are different, what you do that is different to your competitors, or a collection of things to provide you some sort of strategic differentiation in the market, then that's a success in terms of a great university marketing strategy. There's obviously a lot more to a marketing strategy than that. This is my structure. This is what I sort of worked off. It's probably a bit too much to go through now. So what I might do is just talk about a few different things. Part of putting together a great marketing strategy for a university is obviously you're working across it's more of a collegiate environment. It's not typically like a normal kind of marketing organisation. So there's a lot of influencing you have to do, and one of the tools that I found really effective for that when I was running this process at Melbourne Uni was the envisioned future. Like, what is it that we want to be in the future, and trying to get all of my, say, the heads of colleges, heads of faculties to buy into that, to buy into the central vision. And then how that vision obviously translates across brand, recruitment, learning and teaching, research, external funding, engagement, and your people strategy. A few things that I think need to be in there is marketing finance. So I was quite shocked really at the lack of marketing finance activity or numbers that I could get my hands on, and the practice around marketing finance within university marketing. I understand why. Like, it's not like cut and dry hardcore. It's not like you're an e-commerce business, right? It's very different. But even just starting to talk about internally, I found it really helpful for my colleagues when I was working in that space about, what's my cost of lead, what's my cost of sale across faculties, across courses, all of those sort of the base marketing finance kind of metrics that you should be trying to capture. I found that really helpful, and I recommend you build that into your strategy. And the next one's it's pretty basic, but it's actual activity. So holding yourself accountable to these lofty kind of strategic ideals around your marketing strategy, and actually having that reflected in budget numbers and people and things that you're actually going to do. I'm not talking so much about media spend, as more about if you determine that your strategic advantage, the thing that you want to do differently to your competitors, is to be relentlessly student focused, but you don't have a substantial investment in, say, a student success platform and then people and training and all of those things that you need to get it live, then you're kind of lying to yourself or your team about what you're actually going to achieve. And one thing that I think is really important is one audience, a single audience that encompasses your entire organisation. So this was something I was trying to push through when I was at Melbourne Uni. We got there halfway there. It's quite hard. But I brought it with me when I built the media strategy and then took it over into the marketing strategy activity. Basically, one audience that transcends your learning and teaching targets, your recruitment targets, your research activity, and your engagement strategy. One audience that everybody can just talk about and knows and understands, and they know how that audience is different to the audience of another university or another brand or anything that defines the people that you want to communicate with and influence to engage across your different products or different areas. This one's slightly controversial, but I think it's really important. So one of the biggest, learnings and most inspiring things about universities is the fact that engagement with the university is quite transformational for a customer, for a student, whether you're a student, whether you're a business that's doing a partnership or something like that, because the aspiration is there, but it means different things for different people. So it's really important that your strategy reflects the place you have in the market. The place can be a positioning, it can be physical location, or a blend of those. But I think that's really important. One of the best examples is, I think, the innovation that Victoria University are bringing through their first year model. This is a great reflection of a strategic positioning around the University of Opportunity and Success. And that's a great reflection of that strategy in execution in terms of their activity and the way that they actually go about delivering their teaching and learning. Linked to that is basically off the back of that is define one or two big innovations that will get you there behind your marketing strategy. And this isn't BAU activity, this is like things that you're going to do in your product or your service that will transform your positioning in the market and deliver on that strategy. I might keep hustling through these because I'm running a bit low on time. I'll talk briefly about positioning. So most of us think every market looks something like this, right? I built a lot of these when I worked as an insights practitioner. We always, we're very good at coming up with models that say, hey, there's a white space over here and there's white space over here. In reality, this is what most markets look like. I've made a lot of mistakes working as an insights practitioner where I basically sold something to a client, or I was working as an insights person and I was working off a map that looked like the previous page and it actually looked like this. And we could have saved ourselves a lot of trouble and drama. Just acknowledging that most markets are more narrow than we really believe, and generally there's just one perspective on which people traverse a market. It's generally quality price related. My recommendations or ideas about positioning within the university sector is to try and stop talking about the category. The category is well known and you're all part of the category, and you benefit from, I guess, a social kind of cohesion that occurs around the category of universities. Unless you're a big spender, unless you can really do category-leading advertising, don't talk about category norms. You'll probably waste your money. If you're wondering how to land on a great positioning, I really like the leading edge approach to the way they build brand platforms, which is where you take a consumer truth and link it to a product or brand truth that you can leverage. Generally, you work with your agencies to build this, and then I liked combining it with the challenger mindset. I think challenger brand positionings are generally quite good, and it's very easy for people to get behind them. If you're not familiar with this, there's a couple of great books out there written by the guys from Eat Big Fish, branding consultancy. I'm with the crowd on this one. I think branded houses are better houses. Every time you dilute your architecture, we're not a high spending category, we're not the Toyotas of the world, like we don't have that much cash in terms of above the line. Every time you dilute the brand, you weaken your message. So that dollar is weakened every time you dilute your brand architecture. So the example we always brought up was Melbourne University School of Design, and we were always kind of debating with them about, can we just bring you guys in, because I think it would be better for all of us, and they wanted to be out on their own. Obviously, you're not always going to win those battles, but it's good to try and make the case. All right, execution. I think, this is opinion, you should delineate your roles. Brand marketing should be a centralized marketing function, and product should be faculty focused. A couple of different reasons for that. One of the main ones is expertise. Like, you can't possibly know about the suite of things going on within a university. It's better to delineate. And also, this is related to a learning through software marketing as well, where product marketing is quite a strong practice. But what I really mean by that is central marketing, or people who are responsible for the brand, are responsible for getting people excited about the aspiration of affiliation with the university brand. It's all about transformation, storytelling, particularly in recruitment, but also in your research and your engagement strategies. Once you've done that job as a central marketing person, you then hand them over to people in the faculties, and it's their job to define what is inside or outside of the box being, say, a course or a specific research centre or whatever it is you're trying to sell. It's their job to say, this is why what we do is far better than the competition. Why is this different? Why is that going to deliver on the brand message? The next one is get a sales team. Whatever euphemism goes around how students are brought into the university is the primary point. The sales team is whoever you drop off your course inquiries to, right? And I think salespeople within universities could be a real benefit if you incentivize them based on student feedback, student success, net promoter scores around how students go through university experience. I think it would be a fantastic evolution. And linked to that would be student success as a marketing and sales function. So this is also linked to a learning from the software world. Darren actually mentioned it. He said he's looking to bring on a large content platform, which I hope would be mine, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be. And the most important part was the training, the onboarding, what we call in software the customer success process. How successful are they on the platform? Bringing something like that or that methodology into the university system, I think, would be really important. Part I want to finish on is content. The way that we communicate has fundamentally changed. So in the past, we used to build, say, 4 or 5 TVCs over a standard calendar year and a range of attendant content that would come off those in the form of billboards and print ads and a range of other things. Doing that was very easy to keep your content as part of marketing on brand. Now, the world has totally shifted, and we all know this. Universities are actually sort of have a quirk in the media mix that obviously means that content is a larger portion of what you guys do, from all the publishing that goes on within universities and all the magazines and things. So you probably you're more aware of this than many other companies and organisations. The reality is we're producing so much content across not only Central, but then also across all the different faculties. So what should you do about it? You need to create what we call a content engine. This is where you centralize and coordinate all of that content production in a central place that's linked to your digital assets, that's linked to brand-approved content, that's synced into the brand strategy that you've set, where you give people within your faculties autonomy to create content that they want, where you can then dictate, to a degree, master brand messages down the chain, and also get content from the faculties or from your research centres or whatever it is up the chain to be used in top-level brand messaging or whatever it is you need to do. You need to implement a software solution, is my recommendation, to run that process across your organisation. The next one is channels are quite cheap. Experimentation with that 4,000 pieces of content a year on average, as opposed to 4 big TVCs, is very easy. So you can chase down channels and new channels to experiment with in what Andrew Chen, who's the head of growth for Uber, calls product channel fit. So you're searching for the message generally has an optimal channel for distribution. Try and find that, and it's very cheap to do it. You can just experiment, you can work with your agencies to try and experiment on those different distribution points. We always rely on this. Content is king, but the distribution is queen. The distribution is queen, and she wears the pants. The last thing I'll finish on, and then I might open it up for some questions, is just this really simple point is don't wait. So one of the best things I could see as a result of working with Victoria University's linked to their brand positioning around opportunity and success, so being the University of Opportunity and Success in the west of Melbourne. For those of you who are not from Melbourne, the west of Melbourne has historically had lots of immigrants, some lower SES pockets, but it's a rapidly changing environment, so it's a real place-based focus for a lot of that marketing activity. The guys there have run a university stimulator, which is sort of similar to an incubator, but the idea is it's out in the community trying to encourage small businesses and people to develop a relationship with the university that's outside of just a teaching and learning one. It has, slide missing there. They've done so much good stuff, and I would hear about it in these board meetings, and I'd say to the guys, like, just get that into your content, get that into your content stream or your activity, which they have done over time. The point being, don't wait. Don't just wait until your next planning round to say, oh, there's a great bunch of activity that we're doing, let's try and get that into our content stream for next quarter, whatever. Just get it happening as soon as you can, because there's great stories coming out of every organisation that you guys are involved with. There's no reason to wait. Thank you. If you're interested in any of the stuff that I've talked about today, so myself and my colleagues, well, we're just over in the corner there, and we'd love to talk to you about the different work that we're doing across the university sector and with other brands. Are there any questions? Yeah.
I need a mic, it's okay.
Just so people at the back there.
Thanks. Sorry, Garrett from Pollinate. It's interesting your points about knowing your place, what you can do, and making sure that your strategy is unique in the market, but focusing on getting you out there. How much time do you think you need to spend around that competitor and market analysis then to make sure that you are unique?
Yeah, so the question is time-based thing. I'd say there are a lot of strategy projects that go for too long in the context of universities and in general. I think I was working at Melbourne Uni, they were working on their engagement strategy for like a year, which I thought was too long. But that's different, that's not marketing activity. I'd say you could probably answer, in terms of positioning what you do differently, a university could probably answer that right now. You'd probably just be able to answer it, right? So I don't reckon you need to overthink these things. What you should probably spend time on is what you're going to do and trying to make sure that you can either deliver on that or you've got buy-in from, because universities are a slow-moving beast. There's lots of people. It's more like a cabinet kind of. It's collegiate. It's not like CEO top-down, we're going to move and do this, right? So that's where I reckon you should probably spend your time. Really sorry about that. Stage must have been annoying you guys clicking.
I was just curious to hear more about the one audience slide. I don't think I took that in sufficiently well, so just if you could tease out that concept a little more, I'd be grateful.
Sure. So it came about, the genesis of that actual piece of work that I was doing, I was working at a publicist group agency at the time, It was part of the University of Melbourne's Made by Melbourne, kind of the start of that campaign, and we were doing the core media planning for that. And I was just trying to hunt for, because it was actually it was born out of like almost like frustration, saying this place is too complicated, I need to simplify it. I've only got a certain amount of time to communicate this with my key stakeholders on the client end, and also I thought, why couldn't it just be simpler? It was a bit easier, I think, in the context of where Melbourne University's positioning was going, that I was able to identify sort of a couple of key psychographic kind of elements within an audience that transcended 3 key audiences, which was student recruitment, undergraduate student recruitment, postgraduate, and then the general broad engagement, which included their large giving campaign, because they were trying to ramp up their giving strategy at the time. And I acknowledge, like, it's hard. It's really hard. I'd try and work with your media agency on that, and I'm happy to talk to you more about that if you like, the specifics of what we put together.
Now, I'm the one that's between everyone and lunch. Quick one for you, just taking you back to the start, you made a comment around behavioural metrics. And obviously, we're humans, what we like to think that we do versus what we do, there's a gap. I guess I'm interested, there's kind of 2 parts to the question. The first one is, what have you measured, or how have you seen that measured in the past? And then the follow-on is, how have you brought together qual, ethnographic and quant research to draw that insight?
That's a big question.
Haha.
So the first part, I don't collect that information on behalf of universities now. We do it on the way people engage with content through our platform, which I do deliver to some of our university clients. And it's exactly what Darren was saying. It's we measure engaged time as opposed to clicks or page views for that reason. And we have our own proprietary insights engine that does that. In terms of specific insights-based work for universities, my aspiration at the time was that I would have almost like we all built student customer journeys, right? And they were always in PowerPoint. And I really want that just on a board, so I could see live stats of live engagement and feedback from students and different cohorts through the period of time they were moving through to university, that I could then go and act on. That would be my goal. That was what I was dreaming about. I've never seen it done. I don't work in the industry. Maybe it's actually happening. But yeah, so that was it. In terms of combining those things, so apart from basic combinations of using quant to direct your thinking and then using qual to deep dive into the why, I don't have any specific kind of mind-blowing insights for you in that space, other than great agencies are your best partner in that regard, like getting a really good qual agency that can deep dive into the reasons why. Those guys are worth their weight in gold. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy lunch.